Finally, the decision that you issued yesterday, Mayor Brenda Locke issued a statement. She's calling your decision disappointing, misguided, based on inaccurate assumptions. But at the same time, she also says that the 8-month delay in issuing this binding decision from your side has led to an extra expense of upwards of $60 million for the city's taxpayers. Could this decision, this binding decision, not have been issued in December or even in April when you issued a strong recommendation?
At the time, the city of Surrey indicated that they wanted to go back to the RCMP. I said that if they wanted to do that, they would have to provide a plan on how to do that. We received that plan in February. And then my ministry staff had to do a thorough analysis of that on the information that they gave us, along with the information that we received from the RCMP as well as the Surrey Police Service. After a thorough analysis, it was determined that the Surrey's plan did not meet the requirements for ensuring public safety. I said that there were two paths that they could pursue, that they could choose. One was to continue with the Surrey Police Service, and they could have made that decision at that time. Or if they wanted to go back to the RCMP, then they had to show me how they would do that by abiding by the requirements, which were binding, non-negotiable requirements that would ensure that a transition could take place that did not impact other communities, would not impact the provincial business line. And we received that, we've looked at it, which led us to yesterday. And that their report showed that they failed to meet those conditions, and that's why I acted yesterday to make the binding, the decision, the directive that they must continue with the Surrey Police Service.
Have you heard from Surrey's mayor since?
No, I spoke to her yesterday, prior to my making, a couple of hours prior to my making the announcement, but I have not spoken to her since then.
But she's wanting to have a face-to-face meeting with you, and so is that process underway? Is that something that you think she's going to have to reach out for? And would you be willing to meet face-to-face with the mayor to discuss this further?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to meet with the mayor. The decision has been made. I've made that decision, and the Surrey Police Service will be the policing body that polices Surrey through once the transition is complete.
Minister, you also mentioned yesterday about the legislation that you want to bring in September so that such a situation can be avoided in the future. In that, one of the things that you also want to implement is that the mayor of any city should not be the person on the chair of the police board. So once that legislation gets introduced and once it passes, will that particular new rule be retroactive, or would that be something implemented going forward, or is it too soon to answer that?
Well, yeah. First off, I have not said yet that will be one of the changes that will be made. I have been working with local governments and also within my ministry and the all-party committee report on Police Act reform that was tabled in the legislature. It looks at a whole range of issues, and I'm looking at issues around governance and accountability for the fall. The issue of police boards and who should chair a police board has been one of those topics of discussion, and a number of changes have been recommended. I've not made a decision on that yet, but it is something that many people have said, that a mayor should not automatically be the chair of the police board, that maybe they should be electing their chairs. On top of that, I think one of the lessons that we've learned from the situation in Surrey is that there do need to be changes. I don't want any future Solicitor General, whatever government, to have to go through and deal with it the way that we have had to in this situation. And I think there are some changes there that could help things. One is the Solicitor General should be able to, for example, insert themselves into the process earlier, I think. And to be able to say, look, if local government, if you want to make the change, great, but you're not reversing that change. You have to see it through to its conclusion. And the other is that in order for Solicitor General to be able to make a decision, they should have access to all the information and reports that they need without having to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Mr. Farnworth, one of the concerns that you highlighted that should the city go back to RCMP, then there could have been a mass exodus from the Surrey Police Service members, which could have led to a public safety crisis in the city. Now, as Surrey Police Service begins to ramp up its numbers and begins to hire more officers, there is a very strong chance that they will be pulling officers from other communities. Do you foresee that sort of a problem occurring in other cities across the province where those cities might come up to you and say, now we have a policing situation where a lot of our officers are leaving our ranks and joining the Surrey Police Service. Now then the statutory obligation that you have to ensure public safety across the province could put you in some sort of a bind.
One of the conditions in going to the Surrey Police Service, which I put on, was that they cannot destabilize other policing jurisdictions in the province. And that's why that will be monitored by my Director of Police Services, who will be able to say, hey, we're moving too fast. And as well, that's also why I appointed Jessica McDonald to act as a strategic implementation advisor in terms of overseeing this work to ensure that does not happen. At the same time, we've also expanded the capacity of the Justice Institute that was done at the start of the transition so that they have an increased capacity to train more recruits. But we absolutely want to make sure that we will not be impacting destabilizing policing in other jurisdictions in the province.
Do you see any political repercussions of this? Maybe other municipalities coming up to you and asking for money from the province, because Surrey is being offered $30 million each year for over the next 5 years to cover some of the additional costs associated with this transition. Do you think other municipalities could be coming up with such a demand? And I believe the mayor of Fort Langley, after your April announcement, did highlight that other cities should be getting such funding as well.
No, I don't see that. This is a unique situation. I think most people understand it is a unique situation, that Surrey is the largest RCMP detachment in the country. And what happens there impacts other communities in the province. So it's important that we are able to make sure that it's done properly. And also, I would add that there are no other municipalities looking at transitioning from the RCMP to a municipal police force, or the other way around. So no, I'm confident in the approach that we've taken.
In the coming years, because now there is an indication that by 2032, the federal government wants to move RCMP out of the frontline policing model, then there would be other cities which would have to relook at their own policing. There is also a strong recommendation from the review that was done last year that the province should have a regional policing model or a provincial policing model. Do you think this sets up a blueprint for that, or is it too soon to talk about that?
I think at this point it's too soon. This decision I made yesterday was on the basis of Surrey and public safety in Surrey and the rest of the province. It was not about regional policing. It was not about changes that may or may not happen at the federal level. Those are separate issues from what I was having to deal with in the case of the situation in Surrey.
Mr. Farnworth, you are a seasoned politician. You've dealt with a lot of difficult files. In your entire political career, you've faced a lot of political quagmires. Where does this stack up?
Oh, definitely at the top. This has been one of the most challenging issues that I have ever had to deal with, without doubt. And it's difficult because you're dealing with people and you're dealing with human beings who are concerned about in the case of Surrey Police Service, do they have a job? In the case of RCMP officers, what's happening where I'm working. And I just want to say this, that this decision was not a reflection on the men and women in the RCMP who do an incredible job day in, day out. It was not a reflection on the Surrey Police Service, whose men and women who are working in Surrey also do an incredible job day in, day out. This is a decision that I made on my responsibility as Solicitor General to ensure safe and effective policing in Surrey and in the rest of the province.
Mr. Farnworth, thank you so much for your time this morning.
My pleasure.